Good morning, everyone. I'm Suchi, and welcome to AI Minute Mondays, where I take a couple of minutes each Monday to demystify AI for everyone. The topic for today is AI for supercomputing. When we think of supercomputers, we think of raw power, machines that are able to crunch billions and trillions of calculations per second. But what happens when we add intelligence to that power? This is where AI for supercomputing comes in. Joining me today to unpack this topic is Nithin Mohan, who's an AI and supercomputing leader at HP Enterprise. Nithin, for our viewers, can you share a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. First of all, thanks, Suchi. It's great to be here. So, a bit about my background. I started out as an early engineer at a scale-out distributed storage startup that was later acquired by a company called NetApp. So, I worked on distributed systems that had to be fast, reliable, and massively scalable. So today I lead AI and ML initiatives for high performance computing at Hewlett Packard Enterprise, where my team builds AI-driven observability and AI ops platforms for some of the world's largest supercomputers. So in simple terms, we use AI to help these giant machines run more efficiently, catch issues early, and make better use of every node, every power watt available, and every second of compute. So that is my brief summary of my background.
Thank you, Nitin, for sharing that. That is very impressive, and yes, definitely the need of the hour. So let's delve a little bit more into our topic, which is AI for supercomputing. Now, traditionally, supercomputers they are known to be very beneficial and excel at brute force simulations like drug discovery, climate models, and anything that needs a whole lot of computing muscle. So, can you elaborate a little bit on how AI fits into the space and what's the kind of impact that AI can have?
Absolutely, Suchi. So the way I think about it is supercomputers, as you said, give us raw power, and AI tells us how to use that power more intelligently. So that's one part of the equation, and also using these supercomputers to run and build the foundational AI models themselves. That has been a big step function, right? So I see three big shifts. One is smarter simulations. So not just bigger ones. So instead of always running full expensive simulations, AI can learn from past simulation runs and act as a sort of a fast surrogate, if you will. So to take an example in climate modeling, for example, AI can approximate some physics steps, right? So scientists can explore many more what if scenarios in the same time and budget, right? Another very interesting example would be in drug discovery. AI can quickly filter out weak candidate molecules, right? So that the supercomputer is more efficiently used to focus on heavy simulations and only the most promising ones. So imagine if I were to use during very crunch times, like we lived past the COVID situation where we were scrambling to find a vaccine cure, right? Imagine if we had the power of AI that we have now and the power of exascale supercomputing that we have now. That may have led to maybe instead of finding a vaccine cure in 8 to 9 months, possibly finding it in a few days, right? So that's the kind of leap that we're talking about that AI plus supercomputing really unfolds. So it's an exciting time to be alive. And if I can go on, right? What else in this space is shifting is supercomputers by themselves were very um, complex to manage and operate, right? So before AI, it took several man hours, if you will, right? After AI, uh, AI still is in its early innings, but it's enabling more faster supercomputers because we need less manpower to
Mhm.
triage and pass through this voluminous mountains of telemetry data, right? And not just supercomputing, but it's applicable in general to any large scale data intensive environment. But you can imagine, right? Supercomputing, the bottleneck was how many people you can have be operating and managing a supercomputer. With AI, right, supercomputers generate massive logs, metrics, and telemetry. And AI looks across the fire hose of data to spot patterns, applications that are likely to fail, simulations that are likely to fail, nodes behaving oddly, right? Or configurations that can consistently perform better. And so that with AI, with supercomputing, that means less time firefighting and doing more science. So that's why it kind of feeds the narrative. Uh, if COVID were to, I hope it doesn't happen, but if it were to happen again, I think we are in a spot to find a cure truly in few weeks or days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like huge impact there, definitely. In terms of, we've all suffered through the COVID era, so we know the kind of impact that having a vaccine so much sooner would
Mm.
would make. But yeah, like you're saying, AI and supercomputing, that definitely shows a lot of potential. But coming to the flip side, right? We are making a lot of progress. There's a lot of stuff that we can do with
Yep.
AI and with supercomputing. But which brings us to the very real possibility of, are we going to amplify the divide that already exists in the world today? Right,
Yep.
with between with all the inequality, and then we have so much of technology on one side, and then we have the other side which is still struggling with the basic economic viabilities, right?
Yep.
So, how do we kind of address this particular issue?
You're absolutely right, Suchi. If you're not intentional, AI plus supercomputing can deepen existing divides. Uh, so to put this in perspective, the GDP of a country like India was one-fourth of world's GDP before Industrial Revolution, right? Industrial Revolution uh, accelerated some divides, right, in terms of economic development. Uh, we are making progress towards getting the world more equitable, right, where everyone has access to basic needs, food, water, right, education, and that means moving towards developed status, right, from developing status. So technology has been a great enabler to get us to that point. On the flip side, AI is just so radical in its um, power, right? That I think a similar situation to industrial revolution can repeat, but in a span of a decade instead of over a century, right? So that's, as you can imagine, a very grim thought, right? So I think uh, progress towards equity starts with mindful allocation of resources, uh, equitable resources to supercomputing, right? So I would say first access, we need share platforms and programs where non-profit organizations and universities, right, uh, from under-resourced regions can tap into powerful systems without owning them. One example would be the developed countries have now access to exascale supercomputing.
Mhm.
But when you compare the developing countries, right, countries like India or across regions in Africa and Asia, uh, the fastest supercomputers there are still a few petaflops, right? So the difference is several hundred X in terms of computing power, right? And when you add AI to the equation, that there is a risk that that divide only further in terms of R&D expertise just further widens. So one possible solution would be, I think,
Mhm.
allocation to sovereign AI infrastructure. These are the highways of tomorrow, right? These are the highways through which intellectual knowledge uh, will traverse. So thinking of these as the backbones of the nation building would be one way companies can maybe pull together and try to be on the same playing field as investments from developed nations. So that's a solution. Or we can move towards more equitable credit access, right? Where regardless of whether a person is sitting here in USA or India or another region in the world, there are uh, common access platforms and systems that
Mhm.
provide um, and enable access to anyone regardless of their background, um, so that you or I don't have to worry about, or someone else who is a researcher don't have to worry about. thinking about the infrastructure, building the roadways, right? They can
Mhm.
just think about problem solving. But that I would imagine would involve philanthropy, right? Many of these billionaires or just public dollars coming together to for philanthropic good of equitable access to supercomputing in AI. So I think, the solution is more deliberate allocation to investment by
Mhm.
thinking of these as backbones to development and nation building, and also a combination of philanthropy, I think, because a country like India has many billionaires. So
Right.
instead of a government worrying about it, how about a Mukesh Ambani or a Narayan Murthy worries about you know uh,
Um, yeah.
sponsoring that dollars to such effort.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Thank you, Nitin, for those insights. So, just to summarize, I mean, AI for supercomputing has immense potential. It has life-changing, world-changing kind of potential. But to actually see the benefits of that potential, we need to also think about equitable AI. We need to kind of build with equitable AI principles in mind, and we need to make sure that we democratize the access to all of this AI and supercomputing infrastructure to even the underserved regions, right? To make sure that everybody's on the same plane. So thank you for sharing those thoughts. It was lovely having you on the show, Nitin. And yeah, I hope our viewers have benefited from your insights as well. So thank you.
Thanks a lot, Suchi, again.